Okay, so in 3.6, we're going to do order of operations with rational numbers, both fractions and decimals. We are allowed our calculator for these, so it would never be expected that you would have to do these without your calculator. So in order to continue, let's just review our order of operations. Let me just grab my highlighter. So to avoid getting different answers, like everyone getting different answers, we always want to make sure that there is a specific order. And this word right here, evaluating, we evaluate expressions, we solve an equation. And a difference between an expression and an equation has an equal sign, expressions don't. So you'll notice everything, all the questions that we have in this lesson don't have equation signs. So we're actually just simplifying them. So we always do what's in brackets first. If you guys want to use that BEDMAS acronym, that's fine. I never do that. We always do brackets first. If we have powers, if we have those exponents, we do those next. We multiply and divide. It does not matter in the order. In that order, it can be divide, it can be multiply. What's important is that we go left to right. And same thing with add and subtract. Add and subtract can be reversed. You can subtract first and then add. We have to do that from left to right, depending on which one comes first. Okay, like reading a book. So let's do a couple examples. So if I was to evaluate this without using a calculator, you will never be expected to do that. So I'm just going to use a calculator for this, and I'll change my notes. So here, remember I do the tray method. If you guys want whatever method, if you do the funnel method, that's fine. I'm going to stick with the tray method, and I know that I have to do multiplication. I have to multiply those two numbers together before I do subtraction. So I'm going to go negative 14.8 times by 0.9, and I'm going to get negative 13.32 minus 3.1. So you can do this in a calculator, or you can actually switch that subtraction to an addition sign and switch the sign. So I know I am going left on the number line, and I am going to go, or the answer, sorry, I should be able to do this in my head, is negative 16.32. Okay, again, this was positive. If I want to put the positive sign in, just to show you that this now changes to a positive or to a plus, the positive has to change to negative. Or you can just do it on your calculator. Okay. In this example, now we're using fractions. They're saying use without a calculator. I'm pretty sure you guys will know how to do this one without a calculator. Here we're either adding or we're multiplying, so we have to do the multiplication first. So I put my little tray around the multiplication. So I write down 1/3 plus, so 1/3 plus, don't be lazy, write down everything step by step by step. So now I multiply across, so 3 times 1, sorry, negative 3, because let's change that to the top. Let's put that negative to the top. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, and 4 times 2 is 8. Again, if you like putting brackets to make sure that you don't get confused between a minus sign and a negative sign, then please do so. Now we are adding fractions. When we add fractions, we find our lowest common denominator, and in this case, the lowest common denominator is 24. We find our equivalent fractions, so I have to multiply this one by 8 and this one by 3. So I go plus negative 9. Now, if you remember, I'm going to just put in my screen shade. Now I can kind of cover this up and just say I'm going 8 right and 9 left. Okay, so I'm going 8 right and 9 left. So I know I'm at negative 1, and I don't forget my denominator. So negative 1 over 24. Okay, so I do my multiplication first, and then I do my addition. So here I have two operations. I have a division and I have a subtraction. So I know I have to do my division first. So let's just kind of cross this out and put our negative to the top. I guess it really doesn't matter because we're going to flip it anyways, aren't we? So let's change our division statement to a multiplication statement. And let's flip or reciprocal, let's use the proper terminology. Let's reciprocal that second fraction or the divisor. And then don't be lazy. Make sure you write down all your numbers and all your operations that you don't complete. So here I'm going to write my tray. So I do my multiplication before my subtraction. I don't have anything I can cross cancel here. So I multiply across. So I get negative 10 over 9. Once again, I can put my negative 10 over 9 in fractions, or sorry, in brackets, my apologies. And if you want to put this one in brackets, that's fine. And put a plus sign, because we know we have to change that subtraction sign to an addition sign. Okay. So we know we have to change that to an add. When we change that to an add, we have to switch the sign. So negative 1/2. Okay. Next, when we're adding fractions together or subtracting fractions, we always have to find our lowest common denominator. In this case, it is 18. So we're going to multiply our first fraction by 2's. To give you negative 20. We're going to multiply our second fraction by 9's to give you negative 9. Now again, I'm just going to, if I actually, now what I can do is cover up my denominator and deal with those integers. So negative 20 plus negative 9. I know I'm going left and left. Okay, so if I'm going left and left, I am going negative 29. I'm going left 20 and then another left 9 and 18. I can't reduce this because there's no number that multiplies into negative 29 and 18 evenly, so this is lowest terms. I do not have to switch it to mixed. I can leave it as improper. Okay. So that's a pretty, it's getting a little bit more difficult here. So here's a little bit more difficult of a question. We have three operations. We have a division, we have a subtraction, and we have a multiplication. Since division is more left, it comes first as if you're reading a book, that's the one we're going to do first. Okay, so again, my negatives go to the top, and let's write that division statement as a multiplication statement. A really good rule of thumb is to make sure, not a rule of thumb, but just a little technique is to keep all your fractions in brackets, and then you won't have any confusion as to which is a sign, like a positive or a negative sign, and which one is an operation of plus and minus. Okay, so we're going to have times here. We're going to flip that second fraction, or we're going to reciprocal it. We're going to find the reciprocal of that divisor using that proper terminology. And then we're not going to be lazy, and we're going to write out all the rest. Now make sure that you guys are writing it down properly and correctly. A lot of the errors that students typically make is not transferring data properly. So let's just double check before we go on. It is negative 7 over 10, got it. We changed the division to a multiplication sign, got it. We flipped our fraction, we flipped that divisor, and we put our negative to the top. Awesome. Subtraction, negative 1 over 4, negative 1 over 4. I'm going to put that a little bit more clear. And then times 1/2. Now we go left to right. So we go negative, and a negative is positive 35. Well, actually, let's do some cross canceling, because we can actually cross cancel here. So let's just erase that. We can cross cancel the 5 and the 10. So we get, whoops, crazy, 2 and -1. And we can't do anything else. So I actually get positive 7 over 4. A negative times a negative is a positive. 7 times 1 is 7. 2 times 2 is 4. Let's put it in brackets. We are now done that operation. We transfer down the rest of it very carefully. Don't make it, any mistakes. Let's double check our work. -1, yep, we're all good. So a lot of you guys are going to be tempted to do this subtraction first, but we don't. We have to do the multiplication. We have 2 more operations left. We have subtraction, we have multiplication. We got to do that multiplication first. So positive 7 over 4. Subtract. Now let's see. I wish I had a side. I wonder if you can actually do a side screen. Can you do a side screen? Oh, I guess you can. Yes, you can. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to cover this up here. Okay, so it would be really nice and easy if we just did that, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's just do this. So we got -1. We can't do any cross cancellation here. We get -1 over 8. And that's our answer. Since it's -1 over 8, let's put that in brackets. Okay, now let's open up the rest. So I want to get rid of my screen shade. Can I get rid of that? Oh, there we go. Okay, because I need to extend my page here. Now we're subtracting. So we have to write our subtraction statement as an addition statement. So we're going to change that subtraction to an addition statement. The only way I can do that is if I switch the sign of my second integer. Remember with my gloves, I turn the opposite direction. Okay? And now we find our lowest common denominator. Our lowest common denominator of 8 and 4 is 8. We would multiply this fraction by 2's to give me that equivalent fraction that we need. And we get 14. This one has a denominator of 8, so we're done. We're going right on a number line, so 15 over 8. This is in lowest terms, 15 divided by 8. There's no number. Again, let's just practice converting it to mixed, just in case it's a multiple choice question. 8 goes into 15 one whole time. You have a remainder of 7, so 7 of the 8s are remaining. Okay, so this is getting a little bit more difficult. If you need to stop and watch this question, please feel free to do so. Okay, so now we have some brackets going on within. Now remember, the curvy brackets denote the integer, or sorry, the rational number. I shouldn't say integer. It was integer when we were younger, but now it's the rational number. So the curvy bracket tells you if it's a positive or a negative rational number, okay? The square brackets denotes operations of what operation you want to do first. So we have to do what's in these brackets before we can even think about doing that division. So we go within the bracket and we have an addition and we have a multiplication. So we have to do that multiplication first. Please do not put a line, make sure it's a tray, because if I don't want you confusing what I'm doing there as like, or you can even remember how I said you can do that technique. Oh, and I can't get there it is. Or even if you want to do the highlighter, saying, okay, I'm going to do that first. It's up to you. Just make sure you know which operation you're doing first. Okay, so let me erase the highlighter. I like my tray method. If you like the highlighter method, go ahead. I'm going to get back my pen. There. So I'm going to do this operation first. So again, I'm going to write down all of my steps. And I'm also going to double check to make sure I wrote it down properly. Now you guys are probably going, oh, Why do I have to do this? It is such a good practice to do this for high school because you're going to be dealing with questions that require about 10 steps to do. And you're going to lose track. So start practicing showing every single step every single time. So -1 times 1 is -1. 2 times 3 is 6. And again, I'm going to put the brackets around to tell me that it's a negative rational number. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I have to finish off the brackets, so I have to do that addition first. So I'm going to make sure that I write down my question. I'm going to double check it. So my -2, yeah, that's all good. And now I'm going to find my lowest common denominator, which is 12. Lowest number that both 4 and 6 can go into is 12. So I'm going to multiply my first fraction by 3's plus my second fraction. I have to multiply with 2's in order to get that equivalent fraction that I need with that denominator equal to 12. And now I can cover up my denominator and look at my numerator. So again, I'm going to transfer. I know it's tedious, but get into that good habit. I'm going 3 right and I'm going 2 left. So I'm actually going to finish at +1. Sorry, it should be +1 over 12. 3 right and 2 left. I'm going to end at +12. Now I can actually do my division. I can get rid of my square brackets because I finished all the operations within the square bracket. So now I'm left with a rational number, so I can give it a curly bracket. Now I'm going to change that division statement to a multiplication statement by reciprocal, by finding the reciprocal of that second fraction. So it was 1 over 12 and now it's 12 over 1. And you don't have to put the positive sign in there anymore. I can do some cross cancellation. So because 3 divides into both 3 and 12 evenly. And now I multiply across. So -8 over 1 or -8. Once again, if you feel you need a second viewing of this one, please feel free to stop the video, rewind, and watch it again. Whoops. Okay, so now we have some powers going on here. Now this is bringing in concepts from lesson 2. Okay? So it's okay, you're all good. So we have to do, actually this should be a square bracket here. So I'm just going to switch that to a square bracket. Can you please do that in your little workbook? So I'm going to do what's in the bracket, in the square bracket first. Again, the curvy brackets denote that it's just a negative rational number. So I'm going to do that adding first before I can do anything. So 6 over 5 times, I have a lowest common denominator of 6. I'm going to multiply the first fraction, excuse me, by 3's. And my second fraction, remember that negative goes to the numerator always, of 2. So I'm going to get -2. I'm going to put my little squarey bracket, and that whole thing is squared. Once I find that answer, I have to square it. So I have 6 over 5. Again, I transfer all the stuff that I haven't done down. 3, I'm going 3 right and 2 left. Now once I'm done my calculation, I can get rid of the square brackets and put curvy brackets, and I get an answer of +1 over 6. Now I have powers. Now remember, the power law says that this exponent goes to both the numerator and the denominator. That was one of the power rules that we did. So the 1 has to be squared to give you a 1, and the 6 has to be squared to give you 36. So we've done our brackets, we've done our powers, and now we finish off with multiplication. We can do some cross cancellation here because this and this are both divisible by 6. So I get a 1 and I get a 6. And now I multiply across and I get 1 over 30. Okay, so getting just a little bit tougher. Let's go on to the next one. So here we find the error. We have to find the error. So obviously they've done the order of operations incorrectly. So let's see, what did they do here? So here they went, the question is -3.7 times -2.8 plus 1.5, and that's in brackets. So it looks like, they went -2.8, they're going -2.8, so 2.8 to the left and only 1.5 to the right, so that should be a negative right there. Okay, and then -4.8, so maybe there's even more errors. Let's just check it out. -4.8 divided by -1.2. So they did do the brackets, but they just didn't put the right number in the brackets. So there's one error. Second, let's see if there's any more. So then we go multiplication. There's no more brackets. We go multiplication and division left to right. So we have to do that one next. So that would change that to a positive. And I'm assuming that that's going to be the right answer. But let me just check just for curiosity. Let's go -3.7 times -1.3. And it is positive 4.81. So that's good. So positive 4.81 minus 4.8 divided by -1.2. We're good. And then look what they did here. They subtracted before they divided. You needed to do this next. Okay, so there are actually two errors. So you should have 4.81. I'm just going to transfer down because that's a pretty big one. Minus 4.8 divided by -1.2. So now, I'm going to tell you right now, let's put square brackets around this because I know that's the operation I have to do. And let's just put brackets around it. So 4.8 divided by -1.2 is -4. So I get positive 4.81. This is a subtraction sign, and I get -4. So I have to make sure I have a subtraction sign plus the sign of my answer when I do those two. Now I write it as an addition statement. The subtraction changes to addition. The negative switches to a positive. I'm going right, so I know to add my numbers together. And I should get positive 8.81. So there were two errors in this question. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Oh, that's a crazy one. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So we get -3/8 minus 4/5 times 3/10 divided by. So we actually have to do, oh, they just totally screwed this up, didn't they? Let's see, because you really need to do that first. Did they actually no, they didn't multiply. Darn it. They actually went and did their subtraction before they did their multiplication and division. So they just totally screwed this up. So it says correct and evaluate the expression. So let's just do this. So -3/8 minus, and again, if you want to take this and put it in here, like in square brackets, this subtraction sign, it's not a negative sign, it's a subtraction sign. So this is a positive number. So I'm going to get, I'm not going to do cross cancellation here just because it's a little bit messy. So I'm going to get 12/50 here. And that's actually going to be a positive. So if you want to put brackets around it just to make sure, that's fine. And then we're going to divide by -4/5. Okay. So now we have to do our division first. So if you want to put square brackets around that, that's fine, just to make sure to keep that subtraction sign out because it is a subtraction and not a negative. So negative 3 over 8. Again, if you want to put brackets around that, that's fine. Minus, I'm going to put my brackets around here, and I'm going to go 12 over 50. I'm going to change that division to a multiplication, and I'm going to put my negative on the top, reciprocal that divisor. And again, if you like your brackets, put in your curvy brackets to show that the signs of each. Now I'm going to do some cross cancellation because these are going to be ugly numbers. So 12 and 4, I'm going to get 1 and 3 because 4 goes into both of those. And 5 and 50, so I'm going to get a 10 on the bottom. And I'm going to get a negative 1 on the top. So I'm going to get negative 3 over 8 minus, and I'm going to put it in brackets, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 1 times 10, 10 times 1 is 10. Okay? Now we have to change our subtraction statement to an addition statement. When I change my subtraction to an addition, I have to switch that sign of that second number. My lowest common denominator of 8 and 10, you can pick 80. I'm going to pick the lowest one, and I'm going to pick 40. So this one you multiply by 5s to give you negative 15. Plus, this one's multiplied by 4s. To give you the positive 12. Let's deal with the numerator. I'm going 15 left. I'm going 12 right. So I end at 3 left. So negative 3 over 40. So now this is a pretty tough question. So please, once again, feel free just to press pause, watch it again. And then if you need any help, I'm going to be there tomorrow. So it says, state the order in which you carried out the operations, evaluate. So here, this is you have to really watch your there's no square brackets here. These are all curvy brackets. They're just showing that they're rational numbers and they're positive or negative. So there's no square brackets. So I have to do this division first. Okay, I have to do what's to the left and go to the right. So again, another way of writing negative 3 as a fraction is negative 3 over 1. So I'm going to go negative 3 over 1 times negative 5 over 4. I always want my negatives on the top. And once again, if you want to put the brackets in, that's okay. Negative 5 over 12. And just to save us a step, I'm going to change that in proper. 2, 1, 3 to mixed already because we have to change it anyway. So might as well do it in this step. So let's do both my multiplications at the same time. We have to keep them separate, but let's just do them at the same time. So there's nothing I can cross cancel here. So it's going to be positive 15 over 4 plus on this side I can cross cancel 1 and 4 here. And I'm going to get negative 5 over 8. Both the 12 and the 3 are divisible by 3, and that's how I got that. Now I have an addition sign. So here I just did both my multiplications so I didn't have to do it in 2 steps. Here I have an addition sign now, so I actually have to find my lowest common denominator. It's 8, so I multiply my first fraction by 2's. I get positive 30 plus, this one already has a denominator of 8, so it just stays as negative 5. I am going 30 to the right. I'm going 5 to the left, so I get 25 positive over 8. there's no number that go into 25 and 8 evenly, so it stays. If you need to change it to a mixed fraction because it's a multiple choice question, 8 goes into 25 3 complete times. That gives you 24, so you have 1 left over and over 8. So you have 1 of the eighths left over. Okay, once again, I did my division, so stating the order, I did my division first, then my multiplication, and then my addition. Use a calculator to evaluate, write the answer to the nearest hundredth where necessary. Okay, so here we have some brackets, and these should be square brackets. Remember, when we write an expression in this form, we assume square brackets here. We assume square brackets here. If you punch this into your calculator without putting those brackets around the numerator and without putting the brackets around the denominator, it will be calculated wrong. Okay, so make sure if you're just putting this into the calculator, because you have one of those big fancy ones, that you put square brackets or brackets around your numerator, then go divide, then put brackets around your denominator. You need that, okay, because that's assumed. Even though it's not there, it's assumed. So let's start with our numerator, and we go inside the brackets of our numerator, and I'm going to have to do this on my calculator. So 3.1. So I get, I think this is going to be an ugly number, 8.9 times 19.6 squared plus 4.7. On the bottom, actually I'm just gonna leave it like this. Let's just do all the brackets first. Okay, then we do our powers. So we're gonna square that. And we get 8.9 times 384.16 plus 4.7. We do our brackets first, we do our powers next. And yes, you can do some stuff on the bottom to make this a little bit quicker. Here I'm going to now do my multiplication on the top and my division on the bottom. Since there's square brackets around the numerator and denominator, you can actually do them at the same time. So 384.16 times 8.9 is 3,419 0.024 plus 4.7. And I'm going to do 9.6 divided by 0.04, and I'm going to get 240 minus 0.4. We're going to do the addition on the top, 3419.02 plus 4.7. I get 3423.72. Hopefully I'm not making any mistakes. This is going to be 239.6. Let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah. Now we do our division. So we get 3423.72 divided by 239.6. Oh, and I get a really ugly number. 14.2893115 repeating. It looks like it's a 5555555. Oh, no, it isn't. I just switched my calculator to the other side, or my iPhone, so it'll be 5525. Oh, that's just gross. What was I supposed to round it to? Nearest hundredth. Thank you. So it's approximately 14 decimal hundredth is there. We go one right, so it'd be 2.9. And it's approximate because we rounded it. Okay. So again, if you need to stop this video and watch it again, go ahead. And now we're done. So you guys have a few questions here. 3C, 4B, 4D, 6, 7B, 10, 12B, 12D, 13A, 13C, and 17. Don't hand in the assessment focus question. You should do it though, because that's, if you can do the assessment focus, you know you're doing okay. Those people that want to be challenged, please do 21. Now, the thing is, you guys, the more questions you do with this and the more you practice this, the better you're going to become. So being exposed to a whole bunch of different styles of questions where you simplify these expressions using the order of operations, the more prepared you're going to be for your test. So please let me know if I can help you, and have a great night.